Starting off the list today at number 10 is Robert Downey Jr. Our beloved Iron Man is known to have an edgy attitude, but most of us have come to appreciate his sarcasm. Although we don't know him personally, he seems like a pretty decent guy from what we can see in interviews. However, it was one interview that drove the actor to his breaking point, which led him to walk completely off the set during the middle of the interview. In 2015, when he was doing an interview with UK's Channel 4 News with a journalist named Krishan Guru Murthy, the actor got irritated because the journalist kept asking him questions about his past, pressing him for personal answers. He started by answering his questions kindly, no problem. He even said that he had no problem discussing his past, but it reached a certain point when Downey Jr. even asked, are we promoting a movie? The interview was actually set up to promote his movie Avengers Age of Ultron, and none of the questions had to do with the movie. He was asked about his past drug addiction, alcohol abuse, and even personal questions about his father.
Taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether, you think you're free of all of that, or whether that's still something.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
So when he had enough, he walked off the set and even gave the journalist a little nudge on his way out. The journalist tweeted out the video, which shows the actor leaving the set, and captioned it with a steely moment from Iron Man.
Bye.
Are you? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Throughout the interview, you can see the actor tense up and get a little snarkier as it goes on, but he actually controls himself a lot better than I probably would, if I'm being honest. At number 9 is Tyra Banks. Ever since Tyra yelled, "We were rooting for you" on America's Next Top Model, it's become one of the most iconic moments in reality TV history and also one of the most popular GIFs and memes on the internet. It's been more than a decade since Tyra freaked out on set and yelled at one of her contestants on the show, Tiffany Richardson. The footage has over 11 million views and counting. In the clip, you can see Tyra raise her voice the way your mom used to do when you were in some serious trouble. If you haven't actually watched the clip, you may have known about it because of the famous line and GIFs and memes going around the internet.
Yes, but this is not, be quiet, Tiffany. Be quiet!
That's what is wrong with you.
Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this. When my mother yells at this, it's because she loves me!
In 2017, the former model opened up about the incident and explained her entire experience on the show. When speaking on it, she says, and I quote, "I went into it thinking Tyra was an effing god. To actually see her and the vibe, it was completely different. It was just weird. I felt like we were all there just to be humiliated. I don't think she gave a about none of us except for the ones who made it big." It's been 11 years since the freakout, and the model has moved on with no hard feelings. She's now a mom of 2 and works a normal 9-to-5 job at a group home in Miami, assisting people with mental disabilities. Taking our number 8 spot is Nicolas Cage. We've often seen the actor lose his mind on screen, but rarely have we seen him lose his mind when it wasn't for a performance. It wasn't until a video was released when he was filming Ghost Rider 2 where you can see him having an on-set freakout. There was a sidewalk confrontation where they were filming, and the freakout shows Cage yelling frantically, doing crazy arm motions, and using very over-dramatic quotes like, "I will die in the name of honor." Turns out it happened downtown outside of a club when locals began to confront the actor, who just was not having it. Once he finished yelling, he began to threaten the people around him, who was trying to actually calm him down, and he yelled, "Don't touch me if you want to live." This freakout caused a lot of controversy because he wasn't visiting on some sort of vacation or on his own time. He was actually filming, and that is where they claimed the set was technically located. Who knows, who cares, the footage is actually ridiculous, and if you want a good laugh, definitely go and find it after this video.
At number 7, Mike Myers. Does anyone else remember the Cat in the Hat live action film from 2003 starring Mike Myers? I certainly do. It was very cringy, but in a good way, since I was a kid back then and I found everything unbelievably hilarious. I enjoyed that movie as a kid, but one person who didn't enjoy it was the Cat in the Hat himself, Mike Myers. After the success of Austin Powers, Mike was set to bump up his comedy and star in a production based on one of his old characters. But before that was all carried out, the actor and the studio got into some debates and there was legal trouble. It was all just unnecessary drama. Well, they both ended up reaching an agreement, and it obligated Mike to star in the Cat in the Hat movie. He never wanted to sign up for that, and he really made it known how badly he didn't want to be there. According to people who worked with him on set during filming of the Cat in the Hat, Mike was very rude and dismissive, and he refused to talk to anyone. He became a hermit and a diva apparently, and this whole experience and subsequent film were all so bad that Dr. Seuss's widow said that she would never allow Hollywood to make another movie based on one of Seuss's books again.
At number 6 is George Clooney, who freaked out on the set and took it all out on director David O. Russell. The two of them worked together on Three Kings, and one of the most famous on-set clashes was shared between the two of them. Apparently, there was a lot of tension on set involving different things like Clooney's pay cut and scheduling conflicts, and the friction between them eventually just reached a boiling point. The producer of the show, Charles Roven, elaborated on the story and said, "Now we're shooting the climax of the movie. Helicopters, explosions, gunfire, it's chaos, madness. And George sees David talking to the extras and it looks like he's yelling at them. But he's yelling just to be heard. And George comes running over and goes, 'I told you, motherfucker, if you're going to pick on somebody, pick on me.' And David goes, 'Why don't you just remember your lines for once?' And boom, they grab each other and they're tussling until I pulled George away. The verbal argument turned into a physical brawl between the two men who now regret that it ever happened. However, they can be proud of their work as the movie is still considered one of the best war movies of the 1990s and it still holds a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
At number 5, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf has really been going through it in Hollywood. He kind of has a bad reputation now because of the conflicts that he's been in, the latest of which got him fired from a movie. Because of his bad attitude and clashes on set, the actor was fired by Olivia Wilde from the upcoming film Don't Worry Darling. It was announced in late fall of 2020 that Harry Styles would be replacing Shia in the film, and now we know that it was due to Shia's alleged bad behavior, as people have cited that the actor was, quote, "not an easy guy to work with." It was alleged that there was some kind of conflict between him and Olivia Wilde as well, and the fact that other cast and crew members didn't like working with him, Shia was let go. Getting fired is always a negative thing, but in Hollywood, when a lot of your work involves other relationships with other actors and having connections, having a bad experience that was enough to get you fired can ultimately burn that bridge and result in you having less work.
So our number 4 spot is Orson Welles. The actor would have been 104 years old today and has left behind a large resume of successful work. He was an actor, director, and a writer. What he's most known for though to the YouTube generation is the video that has the actor freaking out during a voiceover recording. In 1970, the actor was on set doing voiceover work for a Findus frozen foods ad. During the recording, you can hear people giving him directions and the actor just is not having it. After he was asked for one more take from the audio engineer, his response was, "Look, I'm not used to having more than one person in there. One more word out of you and you go. Is that clear? I take directions from one person under protest. Who the hell are you anyway?" And that was just the beginning of his little on-set freakout.
Have just one more take of that, sir.
Why? I just did it right.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not used to having more than one person in there. One more word out of you and you go. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
By the end of the video, he ends up raising his voice and yelling, "You are such pests. In your depths of your ignorance, what is it that you want?" He seems like he would just be a pleasure to work with.
At number 3, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is known for being in National Lampoon and the show Community, but is also known around Hollywood as being kind of a jerk and starting drama with the people that he works with. There are a bunch of articles, books, and interviews of people talking about their experiences with the actor and how mean he can be. There are even stories in the book Live from New York that detail the times Chase has been mean to staff, writers, interns, and other hosts. Will Ferrell and Bill Murray are among those who have taken a disliking to Chase because of the way that he's treated others. Will Ferrell has said that he doesn't like Chevy because of the way that he treats some female staff members, and Bill Murray and Chevy Chase even got into a brawl backstage of SNL back in the day, where they said some pretty hurtful things to each other because they were kind of comedy rivals on the show. Chevy just doesn't get along with everyone, and he said it's because his fame went to his head, but something tells me that's not the only reason why he starts drama.
At number 2 is Christian Bale. Who could forget this epic freakout that was caught on tape back in 2009? During the filming of the Terminator movie, video footage leaked out onto the internet which captured the actor going off on some sort of crazy rant at one of the crew members. You can hear the actor yell and cuss for a few minutes at the crew member who apparently walked behind him while he was filming a scene. You can hear the crew member say that he was just looking at one of the lights. Bale continued to cuss at him and calls him an amateur, telling him to stay off the effing set. The fight continues to escalate as Bale threatens to kick his ass and trash his lights. He even goes as far as saying that he will quit the movie if this guy is still hired. Honestly, the footage is absolutely ridiculous, and I actually feel so bad for the crew member. Since the incident and footage went viral, the actor has apologized, calling it inexcusable, and admitted that he acted like a punk. He said, "I was out of order beyond belief. I make no excuses for it. There is nobody who has heard the tape who has been hit harder than me." I think the crew member might disagree with you on that. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Wesley Snipes. I mean, come on, how could you not think that he would be taking our number 1 spot? His story is no surprise these days and still gets talked about even though it happened back in 2000. The actor was filming Blade Trinity when he had a complete freak out on set. Apparently the whole incident was over a shirt. A shirt. Turns out that day on set they let everyone pick out their own clothes to wear. One other black actor that was working on the movie chose to wear a shirt that had the word garbage written on it in big stylish letters. It was the actor's shirt and also the actor's choice, but apparently Wesley missed the whole pick out your own clothes memo. He went on set to shoot a scene with the other actor and saw the shirt that he was wearing, and that is when he went into a rage, yelling, "There's only one other black guy in this movie and you make him wear a shirt that says garbage, you racist mother." Not only that, but he actually began to strangle the director David Goyer. Surprisingly enough, once things settled, filming continued on. But Goyer hired security to be with him on set, and Snipes was ordered to not speak to him for the rest of production. Just imagine how dumb he must have felt when the actor told him that it was his shirt.
In audio obtained by the UK news outlet The Sun, Tom Cruise can be heard berating 2 crew members after seeing them in close proximity to one another.
"We are creating thousands of jobs, you I don't ever want to see it again! Ever!"
Apparently, while on set, a distance of 3 meters had been put into effect for COVID safety, but the pair were breaking this mandate. Tom is currently filming Mission Impossible 7, which is where this meltdown took place. Cruise, who is a producer on the big budget action film, starts off the clip by yelling that they are the gold standard. He continues by telling them that studio executives are back in Hollywood making movies right now because of their caution throughout this pandemic. The 2 crew members that Tom was screaming at apparently were less than a meter away from each other and standing at a computer screen. Approximately 50 staff members at the Warner Bros. Studio were left in shock by Tom's angry outbursts. That's 50 people standing around letting this actor and producer scream at them all for 2 minutes straight. I totally get why Tom Cruise was so angry here though. He was furious that after all of his efforts to bring back filming, 2 crew members were about to ruin it all for them. Cruise also said that he was offering no apologies for his rant because people's livelihoods are at stake. In the clip he can be overheard saying, "You can tell it to the people that are losing their effing homes because our industry is shut down. It's not going to put food on their table or pay for their college education. That's what I sleep with every night, the future of this effing industry. So I'm sorry, I'm beyond your apologies." He then went on to say, "We are not shutting this effing movie down. If I see it again, you're effing gone." The latest installment into the Mission Impossible franchise has already had some complications due to COVID. Apparently the movie is earning its name throughout the process for the 7th film. In October, Tom Cruise had to hold crisis talks with the film's director after 12 people on set in Italy tested positive. Additionally, upwards of 150 background extras were turned away because the local health officials had still not tracked down the people on the crew that had tested positive. So as to not put more people at risk, filming was halted and everything was delayed even more. So you gotta imagine that Tom Cruise is just wanting to finish this film so that he can get this nightmare over with. According to The Sun, after Cruise returned to the UK 2 weeks ago, he personally tried to ensure that there would be no more delays. We're guessing this is a promise that he made to the studios back in Hollywood. Several times he has been photographed wearing a mask while on set, and obviously this audio recording is an example that he is cracking down on rule breakers. He apparently even personally paid £500,000 for an old cruise ship that the cast and crew could isolate on, which is a little ironic considering that some of the biggest COVID hotspots to begin with were cruise ships. Hopefully this one was properly scrubbed down before they boarded to quarantine, but nonetheless, that was a nice gesture of him. A source close to the set of Mission Impossible told The Sun that Tom has really been taking it upon himself, along with the health and safety department, to try and enforce these safety precautions, because the last thing that he wants is for filming to be stopped again. The source also went on to say, he does daily rounds to make sure that everything is set up appropriately, that people are behaving and working as safely as they can. He is very proactive when it comes to safety, adding, everyone was wearing masks, it was purely that these people were standing under a meter away from each other. It isn't known whether he saw those guys breaking the rules girls before, or whether this was the straw that broke the camel's back. The source also added that people make mistakes and slip up, but that Tom was just on it every time. Now, I know the source could not confirm as to whether or not this was the crew member's first warning, but judging off of what Tom said to them in the last bit of that clip, they sound like repeat offenders. I mean, no one goes from 0 to 100 like that unless this is the second or third time that you've told them to be socially distanced. In the last part of that clip, Tom says, "All the way down the line, and I care about you guys, but if you're not going to help me, you're gone, okay? Do you see that stick? How many meters is that? When people are standing around a effing computer and hanging out around there, what are you doing? And if they don't comply, then send their names to Matt Spooner. That's it." Now, it's important to note that as per usual, Twitter was divided by this incident. Some praised Tom Cruise for militantly enforcing COVID safety precautions, while others argued that no one should speak like this to anyone ever for any reason. However, those people are not producers on a massive franchise that is employing literally thousands of people. When you actually have some skin in the game, it will make you do some wild things, like yell at people for not being socially distanced. People were calling him a narcissist and egomaniac, but in reality it's quite the opposite. Everything he is saying comes back to him not wanting people to get sick or lose their jobs. Or worse, both. To me, it sounds like a boss who is being responsible and holding his staff accountable for breaking the rules that puts everything they've worked so hard for at jeopardy.
At number 10, Kanye West. Most people see Kanye West as a little too extra. He's caused scandals like his VMA interruption with Taylor Swift, his comments about George W. Bush, as well as many other instances that have just rubbed people the wrong way. To add to that, he's reportedly very hard to work with. During filming of Anchorman 2, Kanye came on set for a brief appearance in the film, and though he played a small part, he left a big impression on the cast and crew, and it wasn't positive. Apparently, after Kanye wrapped on set, he refused to leave. He could have just gone home after he finished his scenes, but he decided to stick around. That's fine if you want to stay and watch other people's performances, but that's not exactly what Kanye did. Instead, he hung around set blasting music so loudly that it disrupted filming. People tried to get him to just leave, but he wouldn't. I think it's safe to say that if a third Anchorman movie were to happen, Kanye just would not be welcomed back. At number 9, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was exposed in 2020 for her Hollywood mean streak and for her terrible on-set behavior. This all came out following a tweet from former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, where she let the world know how horrible it was to work with Lea. The actress is now described as, quote, callous, rude, mean, and even a diva. But following Samantha's exposure of the Broadway star, other people have come forward with their own testimonies regarding Lea and her mean streak. There have been stories of Lea's microaggressions, but also stories of her spitting in craft service food that she doesn't like, refusing to work with people because they didn't know her middle name, requesting reshoots because she didn't like her costume, disrespecting other castmates, and having crew members apologize on her behalf, and so many other frustrating tidbits that just really show how rude and entitled she's been known to be. No one wants to work with her after learning about how much of a nightmare she can be on set. Before we carry on talking about the celebrities who are just the worst people to work with on set, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Julia Roberts. Even though Julia Roberts seems like a nice person, it turns out that she's a nightmare on set. Ironically, she's almost always cast as nice and endearing characters, but there's seemingly much more to Julia than meets the eye. Apparently, she's known to have a pretty bad attitude on set, which can make working with her an unpleasant experience. In 1991, on the set of the Peter Pan film Hook by Steven Spielberg, Julia earned the on-set nickname Tinkerhell as a play on her character Tinkerbell. She earned this moniker based on the production staff's perception of the actress. Apparently, during filming, she would constantly show up to set late, and even when she was on set, she would lock herself in her trailer for hours on end. She also reportedly treated people badly, and she would never apologize for her mean actions or behavior. Julia was truly the opposite of the pixie she was playing.
Sliding into number 7 is Mike Myers. The actor has had multiple freakout moments, but one that has to be the most ridiculous is this one. The director of Wayne's World, Penelope Spheeris, opened up about a story while doing an interview back in 2008. She explained that while filming the movie with Mike Myers, she often found it difficult to perk up his dark mood. She told a story that the actor actually stormed off set because he was infuriated that there was no margarine for his bagel, only butter. Sources said the actor was so angry because he suffered from hypoglycemia schizophrenia, but that was later cleared up by the actor's rep, who confirmed that he doesn't. The movie's director went on to say he was so emotionally needy and got more difficult as the shoot went on. She admitted that she actually put her daughter in charge of making sure he had whatever snack he needed at any given moment. She explained, "To this day, I have this image of her sitting on this little cooler looking at me like, Mom, I hate you." What do you guys think? Do you put butter or margarine on your bagel?
At number 6, Emma Roberts. Emma Roberts has had quite a few on-set feuds with co-stars. She's had drama with Gabri Sidibe, Ariana Grande, and Evan Peters, but the biggest feud that she's had was with Lea Michele on the set of Scream Queens. According to sources, Emma Roberts and Lea Michele had one strong attribute in common, and that was the fact that they were both divas, so while they were working together, they butt heads with each other quite often. Apparently, their fighting got so bad while filming, actress Jamie Lee Curtis had to step in and mediate the hostile situation between Emma and Lea because she was so fed up with their constant bickering while they were trying to work. It was also reported that the actresses would constantly have mean girl moments, making rude and catty comments towards each other almost daily. Rumors of this feuding between them were pretty common in entertainment news while Scream Queens was still in production, showing that things never really died down between the two actresses. It seemed like Emma just caused a heck of a lot of drama with a lot of people on set.
Halfway through our list, at number 5 is Jerry O'Connell. The actor is now 45 years old, but is still known for being the poster child of cannabis edibles. The incident happened back when he was shooting his movie Stand By Me in 1985. He was just 11 years old at the time, and like most kids his age, he loved going to the fair. They were shooting the movie in Eugene, Oregon, which happened to be having a big hippie fair. The youngster thought that fair meant it was a carnival and that there would be some rides, cotton candy, and some innocent games. He was infuriated when his set babysitter, who remained with him on and off set, said that he wasn't able to go. The little guy ended up throwing a tantrum on set one day, which led him to tying his babysitter to a banister and snuck out later that evening. Like no joke, he legitimately tied her up and snuck out. Turns out he ate cookies that were offered at the fair, which were actually THC infused cookies, aka edibles. Police ended up finding him crying in the park. His co-star Kiefer Sutherland opened up and said he'd lost it, totally disoriented, and we had to shut down production for 2 days. He was stoned for a little while. Luckily, he was just high and not killed.
At number 4, Ben Stiller. A lot of people think of Ben Stiller as this super funny guy in Hollywood, but just because someone seems great in the public eye doesn't mean that's how they really are behind closed doors. It seems as though Ben Stiller is a nightmare in disguise because he's a tough guy to work with and he causes a lot of trouble on set. People who know or have worked with Ben in the past have exposed some of his bad behavior on set, and it's kind of shocking. According to those who worked with him on the set of the film Tropic Thunder, he was very controlling and mean to just about everyone there. He even reportedly had a meltdown on set when someone brought him his Diet Coke and it didn't have exactly 2 ice cubes in it. He even had someone fired because they didn't put enough sugar in his coffee. On top of that, Ben even forced his assistant to stand out in the parking lot in his designated parking space, even though it already had a sign saying that it was reserved. And to make matters even more hectic, Ben also freaked out on a female assistant he had, going so far as to refuse to come back to set until she was replaced by a male assistant. If all of this madness happened on just one film set, who knows what other shenanigans have gone on elsewhere with him.
Alright guys, at number 3 we have Eric Bogosian. Things got a little too real on set of The Get Down while filming back in 2016. The actor has always been known to be a little edgy, but that side of him really showed when he flipped out on set one day and threw a chair. His other cast members have opened up about the story, saying that his anger came from the writing staff working overtime on the scripts, which left some of the actors frustrated with little time to prepare. The cast all agree that they were basically writing the show as it went along, which left them very little time to memorize their lines. Eric had enough one day and ended up shouting with anger to a point where he picked up a chair and tossed it violently across the room. The producers ended up sending everyone home that day and continued to film once everything had calmed down.
At number 2, Bill Murray. Bill Murray already has a pretty bad reputation in Hollywood for his poor on-set behavior, so it's no surprise to me to find out that he's had some serious drama with one of his castmates on the set of Charlie's Angels. While filming the movie, Bill Murray was said to have antagonized actress Lucy Liu. When watching the film, you'd think that they were all good friends and on good terms, but in reality, that was quite the opposite. The film set was sort of a hostile environment that caused Bill to take a disliking towards Lucy. Turns out Bill would insult Lucy's talent and acting ability, and on one occasion even said, quote, "I get why you're here, you've got talent, but what in the hell are you doing here? You can't act." Apparently the harassment and bullying got so bad at one point that Lucy tried throwing punches at Bill during one scene because his insults got so bad. This antagonizing went on for the entire duration of the production, and Bill kept on berating Lucy about her presence on set and calling her unprofessional as well. This drama was just so unnecessary. And finally, at number 1, Sharon Osbourne. Talk show host Sharon Osbourne faced a lot of backlash last year after making comments about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Sharon and her former co-host Cheryl Underwood got into a pretty heated argument surrounding Piers Morgan's remarks on Meghan Markle. During this feud, Sharon backed up Piers' comments about Meghan Markle's mental health, and this really frustrated a lot of people because many felt as though what was being said was going a little too far. As a result of the remarks that Sharon made, she was called a racist, and a number of other accusations came out about how she's used various slurs in the past when talking about her other co-hosts on the show. As a result of this, the network that they worked for launched an internal investigation to look into the allegations against Sharon, and that ended with Sharon being let go from the show.